T-Rex Megatron transforms with pulverizing claw.
Hi, and welcome to Demasked. My name is Fresman. Today I'm joined by a very special guest. Today on the show I have M91 Trooper Films. Trooper, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty solid. What about yourself?
I'm doing very good. Now, you and I bumped into each other a few times on Lady Spukaria's streams. I know we've chatted here and there about different topics, but
Yes.
but recently is like where we sort of made the move to have you on the show, and I'm fascinated by your channel because the amount of work that goes into that is fantastic. I want to know where that started. Like what like picked up the idea to make things like this.
I'd probably say it was around like 2015-ish, and stop motions were actually pretty popular on YouTube around that area. And I saw this one, it was like, I think it was an Avengers Age of Ultron stop motion done by this guy named Leo Legendary. And I noticed I had a lot of the action figures he used, and I just kind of decided I wanted to try it out, and it stuck.
Oh, you still there?
Yes, I am.
There you go. Got for a split second. I got worried.
Oop.
So what made you lean more towards like I'm looking at your more recent stuff. What made you lean into more like superhero type videos?
It's always been superheroes from like pretty much the get-go. It was an older channel, same name, but that got wiped because my Google account accidentally got deleted, and so I pretty much had to start from scratch, and that's how it started in 2019, in spite of the fact I've been doing this since like 2016. But it's been superheroes since the start.
And do you design all the sets yourself?
Typically, every now and then I'll like see another stop motion and I'll get an idea on what I want to do for mine, but usually, yeah, I do most of the sets myself.
Huh.
Typically using cardboard or colored paper and small random items that are shaped good enough to use as something.
How long does it take to usually set up set up a set, for lack of a better word?
Depending on the size and the set itself, it can take anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. Does that include like the cardboard cutting out and like putting
Well,
the
typically,
details?
the props usually I make just any day on my spare time, but I keep the props and reuse the same props for multiple films. I don't just like remake them constantly.
Have to remake a city every time
God,
you need
no.
a shot.
That would be a pain in the ass.
Now, I have a question for you. This will determine if we can be friends. No, don't worry. There's no pressure.
Don't feel it at all.
Marvel or DC?
Funny enough, that plays into why I have the Heroverse the way it is. I refuse to choose one over the other.
You know what? Fair.
And I'm sure we can get into that when I answer another question, or if you wish elaboration.
I want to know your favorite superhero, and I want you to defend your answer.
Wolverine, easily.
Now,
He's
what era of Wolverine? I know I'm getting pedantic here, but
don't worry about it. I love specifics. Well, my introduction to the character was the first X-Men movie, which came out like 5 years before I was born. But when I actually like started getting into the character in not only the movies but the cartoons and all that, I just kind of had a draw to everything about this guy. His personality was always gold to watch, and you know, in the weirdest, strangest of ways, while everything else was going on in life, I was always pretty much able to find a sort of like retreat into Wolverine stories. And I learned a lot of my life lessons through a lot of his stories. So I guess you could say Wolverine was kind of a third parental figure.
getcha. And plus, with like a lot of I mean, I hesitate to say like solely the older Wolverine stories, but like the sort of the Jim Lee era, up to current day, it's sort of this like he's consistently pushing through struggles, whether it be physically, like getting torn in half,
Right.
or emotionally, like in the comics, in I want to say the late '80s, losing Mariko.
Wolverine just loses loved one after loved one. That's like his biggest issue.
Especially every year on his birthday.
Yeah, Sabretooth's a dick.
Yep. I
Well,
I what's up?
I guess I guess that's probably it right there is you struggle a lot, but if your comfort character struggles a lot and still manages to bounce back, you kind of gotta, you know, Wolverine's a lot like Spider-Man. He just don't give up.
Still gets up, still tries his hardest to help.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about like Old Man Logan, at least at the beginning, where he just straight up quits.
I mean, to be fair, you can kind of understand why he got to that point too. And
Oh yeah.
while I can't exactly relate to exact detail, I can pretty much say I've been in a lot of spots similar to where Wolverine's been. And anytime he bounced back from that, I felt like I could bounce back from mine too.
Well, like, where, like the have you read Old Man Logan?
Yep, twice.
So you know that, like, I want to say 3/4 of the way through the story where he finally pulls the claws back out again.
Yep, he slaughters all those Hulk rednecks.
Yep. Like that to me was that like this is the perfect amount of like enough is enough.
Yeah, he got done.
Yeah. Now,
Well, and I guess that's another factor of Wolverine is he doesn't take bullshit.
fair enough. It's he's an interesting figure because out of the what I'm looking for, I'd argue out of the quintessential X-Men team, he's dressed the silliest, but
Oh
he's
yeah,
the most serious, which somehow balances it out perfectly.
I know. Well, and he's also probably like the second most complex.
Yeah.
Probably only coming first to like Magneto himself.
I say I say second only to Toad. I
It's like I think that's probably what makes Wolverine and Magneto's duality just as interesting too. They got both just about the same amount of depth. They've been alive close to the same amount of time, but not quite. And Wolverine's been treated shit like humanity, but chooses to still fight for it. And Magneto just says, "Fuck it, let's bring it all down."
I do love the idea that Wolverine's been around so long that Eric Lencher has had time to be born and then grow into an old man.
And yeah, and Wolverine still looks like he's 20.
Yeah.
Healing factor must be so nice.
It's got to be nice, but it's also got to suck cuz like especially when Wolverine gets like skeletized.
Oh, remember the nuke in in his second solo movie?
Yeah.
Just got freaking burned to a crisp.
Or just or,
Bet that felt great.
or have you read Wolverine versus Predator?
Yes, I
Where,
read it the moment it came out. I was looking forward to that happening for like years.
where his face gets melted off? Like, can you imagine trying to grow
Mhm.
that back?
Ugh, all those nerves. Yikes. The ick.
Well, like I grew up in a household with a Marvel nerd and specifically a huge Wolverine fan. And the thing is, I was handed all of these things about Wolverine, but with zero context to them.
Oh no.
And so my dad would be like, "Hey, read this comic." I'm like, "I don't know what's happening right now. What is this?" And
I feel that because a lot of the comics I read were all out of context. I got like issue 15 and 35 of one run, but none of the rest.
well, the thing is, like, I still have the majority of those comics stashed somewhere safe, but I how do I word it? Some of those stories, it's like these giant bombastic, like one of my favorite Wolverine stories. It's a one off. It's a one issue thing. It's called The Man in the Pit.
Yeah, 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 that one.
That is such a messed up story, and I love it.
Right? It's just morbid.
Every day I come to work and I do the same thing. I shoot the man in the pit. Well, the thing is, that's the perfect way to like keep Wolverine down.
Is just keep on shooting him every single day.
Just light him up with a 50 cal.
That must have been hell, like actually.
It's like Prometheus who stole fire from the gods and was pecked by birds, but in this case, the birds are bullets.
Oh God! Ouch! I'll take the bird. I'll take the birds.
I will be dashed against the stones.
Yeah, I'll take a bird beak in the eye over a 45 cal to the chest.
I But no, my dad, he did this thing where he would introduce me to these different storylines without showing me like the beginning of them.
Oh no!
And like I have this one Wolverine comic where he's like traversing the desert, and he out of the 30 plus times that he's riding a motorcycle through the desert,
Right.
but he finds a bunch of like, it's a couple of rednecks that are killing tourists.
I
And
don't think I've read.
it's screwed up, man. Like, do you care much about spoilers for a comic that came out like 20 years ago?
Not really.
So it's like a road, like a gas station, but whenever somebody comes in, they're like, "Hey, we need some gas." They go, "Great," and then they shoot the person and then steal their money and then throw their body into a trailer that's out back.
Yikes!
And Wolverine finds this out, kills one of them, and then locks the other guy alive in the trailer with the bodies.
Honestly, I don't even find that messed up. That's perfect karma.
No, but like the panel shows like he doesn't lock him in the dark. It's worse than that. He leaves just enough room that the guy can see out.
Oh.
And like Logan doesn't stab him, nothing. Doesn't like injure him, just knocks him out, drags him in there, and then locks him in and then drives away.
Right, and since he can still see out, he can just see a bunch of people just drive right on past.
Yep.
That is perfect. That is great.
I I have a coin flip. The other side of the coin question for you. What is your favorite villain, Marvel or DC?
Oh, like one. Which one has my favorite villain?
Or which is it from either or?
Oh, okay. Uh sheesh. That would have to. My answer on that would have to bounce between either Magneto, Doctor Doom, or probably either Magneto, Doctor Doom, or probably Reverse Flash.
I think you and I are going to be friends because Reverse Flash is my favorite villain.
I just like Reverse Flash because of how petty he is.
Exactly.
Like, we're talking about the man that tore up time just because someone stopped him from getting an award.
Uh-huh. Who once shook a girl that rejected him so hard she became an invalid. Like
This is a guy who learned to alter time without having any consequences, just to mess with Barry.
And even when consequences show up, he outruns them.
He's literally every bad day Barry Allen has ever had in his life. Every Lego he's ever stepped on, every bed being warm on both sides, every girl rejecting him, every car wreck, everything. It was all just gone.
Every friend that forgot him.
Yes. because
Like,
because Reverse Flash would go back in time and exclusively make sure Barry still remembered the friendship, but the friendship never happened time wise.
like the kid was never born, and it's just ugh. Like
Yeah.
the thing is, I I grew up reading comics very early on, but to learn more and more about the Reverse Flash and the joke of yeah, the joke of like it was me, Barry. It like I thought that was an exaggeration. Like I thought it was him just threatening. That was it. But the fact that there's an entire comic that covers every single thing he's done to Barry Allen.
Yeah. And again, all of it was because sometime in the future, Flash has a fight with a villain that cuts off traffic and causes Thawne to be like 30 minutes late to his award.
Or the alternative one of like, I want to be the Flash too, but I'm making crime happen so I can be the big hero.
So petty.
Like, what a jerk.
But aside from Reverse Flash, my other favorite villains are Magneto and Doctor Doom.
Okay.
Probably my favor towards Doctor Doom is probably because of the fact that he has such a comically evil name, yet
Uh-huh.
he's not even that bad of a guy.
Yeah. Like most iterations of Doctor Doom, while being cartoonishly evil, it's just him kind of goofing around in his castle.
Well, even then, he runs his own country, and the people of his country love him.
Yeah.
Because he keeps them safe. He made medical care free. Food is cheap. Housing is cheap, and there's no crime in Latveria.
I love the idea that like the Fantastic Four and like say New York centric like the Avengers and all this are like that evil tyrant Doctor Doom and his Latverian Doom bots and all these. Then they go to Latveria and like the common folk are like, no, he's great.
Yeah, we love him.
Yeah,
Long live Doctor Doom.
he gave me a high paying job. I got a 20 room house. It's amazing.
Should have seen the people that ruled before he showed up.
Yeah. The
Want to
last,
talk about time?
the last guy was a nightmare.
Doctor Doom killed his ass.
Yeah. You ever seen a man
Well,
vaporized on live TV? It's amazing.
Well, and Doctor Doom, he doesn't want to rule the world out of ego. While ego definitely plays into it, and he definitely has it. He wants to rule the world purely out of like a feeling that he has to. He saw a bunch of different future timelines, and the only one where everything doesn't go to shit is one where he's in charge.
I I love that type of motivation in a villain where it's not like, wipe away the curse that is humanity. It's like, no, I'm trying to help you.
Even the Panther God backed him up, which was the funny part. Like the Panther God even took a look at his soul and went, "Yeah, no, you're good."
Like the idea of Conchu being like, I should make him one of the Moon Knights.
My favorite Doctor Doom quote is when the Panther God was taking a look at his soul. Doctor Doom said, "Measure my crimes against that which humanity has done to itself, and I am a saint." That is
Tight.
like the one. That is the one comic quote I have memorized above all else.
That's so fucking cool.
I know. Like I am so using that when I use Doctor Doom as a villain someday. I am so using that.
I like Herbert now. I
Fair enough.
so I have like for DC specific. Hear me out. I know it's a basic answer, but allow me to defend it.
Fair enough.
I love Superman, but I don't like base level everyday Superman. I don't like the I've got it all figured out and the perfect solution. I like Superman when he's a problem.
I like Superman when he deals with problems.
Oh yeah. No, I'm talking about like Red Sun Superman.
Fair enough.
Like because like the concept of Superman presents this idea of like I'm reminded of a quote. I want to say it's from Batman and Superman Public Enemies. It's a quote from Batman.
Right.
And it's an interesting dichotomy. Among all of us, Clark is the most human, but then he rains fire from the skies, and it's hard not to see him as a god. And how fortunate we are that he doesn't see that.
Well, and in my opinion, that's one of the best things about Superman is his humility.
Yeah,
Like character wise, not even like, as a person. I mean, like as a character, it's what makes him like the most compelling to me.
yeah,
Like he has the power to move the moon to like build a mansion on it if he wants to, but he'll take the time to walk an old lady home from the store.
yeah. Saving kittens out of trees and then staying in the sun to fight an elder god.
I have an old comic book from like 1992, still in a plastic wrapper, but opened. And the very first 2 pages, he like saves a pregnant woman from getting ran over by a guy who's like his brakes ran out.
Oh no, yeah, that's awesome.
Like very first thing in the whole comic, just right off the bat.
I so I have more so than Superman. I love his opposite, not Lex Luthor. I love
Bizarro?
yes, I love Bizarro.
Fair enough. Bizarro is just too funny not to love.
I I've yet to do so, but I've toyed with the idea of writing a comic in which the Reverse Flash and Bizarro hang out for one day.
Just doing like normal shit.
Like essentially Lex Luthor puts Eobard Thawne on babysitting duty for Bizarro.
That'd be fucking hilarious.
But
Uh, I'd pay to read that. I genuinely would.
and I even have a whole dynamic worked out of like how they sort of not full on best friends, but sort of come to an understanding at the end.
Right.
And it's not like, oh, we fought once and then now we're best bros.
Yeah, I get you.
Oh man, I forgot about Dark Knight Returns Superman.
Dark Knight Returns Superman's okay.
He got weird, like in the later installments.
My personal Superman preference when it comes to like an alternate Superman is Kingdom Come.
That's that's a amazing pick.
Well, it's because it handles the idea of what would happen to a Superman that lost everything better than Injustice did.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Injustice is such a poorly written concept, it's not even funny.
Yeah. And like I so you and this is probably a silly question, but do you ever buy those DC multiverse figures?
The McFarlane ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, some of them are the ones I use. I don't like stick to specific toy lines. I just get the most detailed and good looking figure I can find.
Gotcha.
So it might be a Marvel Legends, it might be a DC McFarlane, it might be a Toy Biz for all I know, it might be SH Mont Figure Arts, and it might be a Happy Meal toy.
Then you
If it I grab it.
then you got to get just one like Hot Toys super detailed like $1,000,
Yeah.
but just one.
Funny enough, I have a figure like that, and I put him on camera right next to my low budget Marvel Legends guy.
As no, what you got to do is just the one Hot Toys, and then the rest are Funko Pops.
Okay. In the first season of my Batman series, which adapted the Red Hood story arc, I had a McFarlane Toys Red Hood going up against DC Multiverse Batman v Superman Batman.
Ooh.
It wasn't a McFarlane DC Multiverse, it was the old DC Multiverse toy line.
Gotcha.
The duality of the quality of figures. Friggin' but it did help make Red Hood look jacked as fuck in comparison to Batman in that scene. Like I had Red Hood standing there with the Miguel O'Hara build.
There you go. Built like a Dorito.
Not even that. He just built like a freaking walking brick wall.
I I I hesitate to use the word collect those DC multiverse figures. I have a few, but it's not so much, oh, it's this run of figures I have to get each one. It's, I like this character, I'm getting that one.
Fair enough.
But the problem is, now I have, and I'm staring up at them because they're right above my desk. I have technically 3 Supermen and 1 Reverse Flash.
That's great.
But none of them are regular Superman.
Okay, you think that's bad? I've got like 7 Batmans and like 5 Optimus Primes.
But I want to start collecting Transformers.
Transformers is like my 3rd biggest obsession.
In terms of figures, so did you ever have? I'm staring at them and I'm getting like, I guess, firsthand embarrassment because I'm the one that has. Uh, so you know those Star Wars lightsabers that collapse all the way into the hilt,
Yeah, I know those.
but it's specifically the ones that don't use batteries or make sound. It's just they had like the big red button that you press down and the blade comes out.
Plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Uh, so I've been trying to hunt those down, but I refuse to go through like eBay because I kind of consider it cheating to do that.
Fair enough.
But the main stipulation is I have to find it in a store that I walk into.
Fair enough.
And back in my home state, I found 2 of them, and they were the 2 that I never got as a kid, but I always wanted. It's
Right.
the Obi-Wan Kenobi and the Luke Skywalker one.
Nice.
And they're on my shelf, and I can stare at them as long as I can stand it.
Nice.
But so, question for you: what is the plan? What is the plan with the Heroverse with your videos? What's the plan moving forward?
Well, there is like, if like, what do you mean, like story wise, or just where you want the overall channel to go? What do you mean?
So you don't have to spoil anything if you are working on something story wise, but where do you plan to go from here? Like larger sets, different tactics in filming.
Well, all that definitely, but story wise, I'm building up to Megatron being the big bad in the same sense that Thanos was for the first saga of the MCU.
Okay.
Like Megatron's pretty much going to be the antagonist of the actual like quote unquote end game.
Now you have to have Optimus say specifically we're in the end game now.
Well, there is something similar to that. Basically, this really doesn't count as a spoiler. It's just names. The first entry is all like it's gonna be a 3-parter finale. Actually, there's All Spark War and then Finish Line Part 1 and Part 2.
Okay.
I thought Finish Line was a fitting title. I got it when I was listening to a Skillet song.
You know what? That's a hell of a place to get it. I dig it. Man,
Well, I also figured Finish Line was a fitting title because he's not the main character of the Heroverse, but a predominant character in my Heroverse is Sonic, and Sonic's a character that runs and races.
okay.
And since Finish Line will be where a bunch of story arcs tie off, I figured it makes sense. Racing character ends his story arc in something titled Finish Line.
Now,
Just logical.
who would win, do you think? First Flash or Sonic?
Ooh, that really depends. I'm gonna say video game Sonic gets absolutely murdered. like definitely movie Sonic probably as well. But if this were Archie Sonic, Reverse Flash might have a day.
Now the question is, which version of the Reverse Flash?
Yeah, that's a good point because comic book version's overpowered. The CW version's also overpowered. I'd say as fair as it could go, if it were movie Sonic, it would be against CW Flat Reverse Flash. If it were Archie Sonic, it'd be up against Comic Flash. Those are the most two similar fair bites I can think of.
It was me, Sonic.
Even it was me, Sonic. I'm the one that told them to make Sonic Boom. I'd say movie Sonic absolutely loses to CW Reverse Flash, but comic Reverse Flash, I can't really think of much he'd have on Archie Sonic because Archie Sonic's pulled some overpowered shit.
It was me, Sonic. I had them weirdly design your movie counterpart.
Oh no, you monster!
I modeled the human teeth on that model.
I did it myself. I spent 40 years in college learning computer programming just to learn to model those teeth. I hate that I hate that that still sounds like something he'd do. I hate it.
How much you want to bet as technology advances that there's going to be a comic book storyline of like Barry Allen was deep faked into this video of him robbing a bank?
He's already been deep faked into robbing banks. I guarantee it somewhere.
Or it's just Reverse Flash in the Flash costume going, "It was me, Barry Allen."
Okay, the thing is, since they're not afraid to reference memes anymore, I guarantee you there will be it was me Barry moment at some point.
What? Oh, what if
Like,
there's like the reverse of that? Haha, Reverse Flash. But what if there's a reverse of that of like, "It was me, Eobard."
it was me, Bart. Fucking payback. That'd be priceless.
Dude, have you read Flash Rebirth?
No, I haven't.
There is Reverse Flash gets defeated in what might be like the craziest way.
You mean there's crazier ways than him being erased from existence because his ancestor just shot himself?
Yes.
It gets crazier than that. I'm sorry, what?
So again, do you care about spoilers?
Not really. It's a comic book.
So
If this were a movie, I'd be pissed.
so like Flash does something to Eobard that doesn't erase him from the timeline. Eobard Thawne gets to exist, but he's now part of a timeline in which he never became the Reverse Flash.
Oh, that is vile.
To the point where, so in that continuity, because Eobard screwed the timeline so hard, the Reverse Flash still exists, but the history behind him has been lost. So Eobard Thawne in the 25th century, running the Flash Museum as he usually is in the comics, he's giving tours and going like, "Yeah, and this was the Flash's best friend, the Reverse Flash. Nobody knows who he really was, though."
Oh no!
It's weird.
Okay, that is the coldest way to get somebody. That is, I love that.
And even then, Barry completely like messes with Eobard by, instead of them like, "Oh, we're gonna fight to the death," Eobard's like, "Do it, kill me. This would be great if you just murdered me." And then Flash is like, "Hey, guess what? I forgive you." And
That's great.
yeah, and like Eobard just can't handle it. It's I highly recommend Flash Rebirth. It's real good.
I love how fucking insane comics get.
I recently caught up with Blackest Night. I completely missed that storyline growing up.
Right?
I I love Black Lantern, Superman, and Eobard Thawne.
Ugh.
But I so So you mentioned that Megatron is sort of the focal point, the big bad, the the king on top of the hill that everybody's racing toward.
Yeah, where it all ends. Well, at least until I can figure out something better afterward. But where it's all headed.
Lee, you mentioned him being a Thanos-like figure. My question becomes: do you think Megatron could wield the Infinity Gems?
I think a Cybertonian probably could, honestly. Just like as a species in general, they don't have vulnerabilities that our bodies do. They're not made of weak flesh. They're made of an alien metal that almost can't be destroyed.
I longed for the cold reassurance of steel.
Yeah. It's actually funny you mentioned a Warhammer 40k line, considering one of the other drafts I've got cooking up.
Oh no,
I actually have had a Transformers Warhammer 40k crossover in mind for a while.
that that's such a solid idea.
Well, I figured they've both been around since the 80s. They're both about just fucking crazy ass shit. And I can think of so many different points of their universes that would fit so well together. It's not even funny.
I have this image of like I can't remember the like like the battle tanks that the Space Marines have.
Yeah.
Like I just imagine that like hauling ass across the face of the planet, and then it goes off a jump and then turns into a dreadnought as it's flipping.
Well, funny enough, I've actually got quite a couple different concepts that have been just kind of bouncing around about the. I don't know if I want to make it like a select amount of episodes limited miniseries or a film. I'm still working on that. Hell, I'm still drafting up what the story is going to be. But I've got like a lot of different things in mind of things that can like happen between those different characters and elements of their lores.
Gotcha.
I already know full well I'm planning on having Unicron travel through the warp.
Oh, oh
And
no.
he might even try to devour the Chaos Gods. I don't know. I'm still working on that.
I was just thinking like just standard corruption of something on that scale.
Okay, imagine, right? You're like an Imperium Legion. You're on one of those cathedral ships. You're just passing through the warp as usual, trying not to get corrupted. And then you just have to hit the brakes because fucking Unicron is just staring right down at a Daemon world, just eating it.
you you attempt contact with Unicron and all it replies is one word: corn.
No, it just replies with feed. And then it just vacuums your ship into its giant maw.
Now the question is, what what Decepticon or probably Autobot, who knows, would side with the orcs?
Grimlock, absolutely.
Oh
The
yeah.
Dinobots as a faction. Okay, Grimlock would probably kill the war boss, and then they'd just start following him. Like war boss Grimlock, I absolutely see happening.
They just keep painting him red over and over.
He's already red for the most part if you're going with the Fall of Cybertron version.
I like the idea that like
Most
every time they get in a fight, they have to reapply.
Okay, the thing is, most Autobots have that glowing red energy somewhere, if not through their Autobot symbol. So, by the Orcs' own belief, the moment they set foot in Warhammer, they're all just going to be like, why do I feel faster than usual? Like cliff jumpers, like moving at blur speeds now, and he's like, what the hell?
It's suddenly big toothed green Sonic the Hedgehogs. They're all doing spin dashes.
Yeah, I've also got some other concepted scenes in mind, like Optimus Prime trying to like appeal morally to Captain Titus.
Yeah, I see it.
And also I've been juggling around the idea in my head that Megatron gets temporarily corrupted by chaos.
Would
And
Starscream fall to Nurgle or Slanesh?
Slanesh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Starscream is such a weak-willed motherfucker. It's
Yeah.
not even fun.
Yeah.
But of course, the Decepticons and the Autobots both will escape the Warhammer universe and go back to their own thing. But for a brief time, they're not going to enjoy it.
It's gonna be a bad time.
Shockwave's gonna have a blast. Shockwave's gonna start camping up with the Necrons.
Oh, I say, but please let it be like the '80s, like tape deck version.
No, that's Soundwave. But no,
Oh,
Shockwave.
right.
Shockwave is just gonna start vibing with the Necrons because they're all about science, and he is literally like the Decepticons' resident Nazi scientist.
Oh,
There's a literal saying in the Transformers fandom: there's Satan, and then there's Shockwave.
yeah.
The things that one-eye motherfucker has done.
You know that. Have you seen that Transformers comic where it's Optimus first arriving on Earth and he's like all this beauty?
And he steps on a deer. That was probably one of my favorite Optimus Prime moments, just in general.
I, I, I saw that might have to be the background to this episode. Future mean editing, take note, please. I want like that panel of his arms spread wide of like, oh, such beauty, and it's a hive city.
But instead of saying such a beauty, Optimus is just like, what in the name of the Allspark is this?
Or just good old fashioned, what the fuck?
It takes a hive city to get Optimus Prime to swear.
That's the line he has to cross.
But like there's all sorts of like little bits that I've actually made concept art for, but I'm not entirely like confident in showing anything yet. There's one scene I had in mind where it would be like a long shot of Grimlock battling against a Hellbrute while Bumblebee's trying to assist an injured Sister of Battle off the battlefield.
Mm.
Because Grimlock and a Hellbrute, they're about the same size, like measurement speaking, so it could absolutely be a fight for a decade. I just like the idea of like Grimlock bites into one of the fleshy parts of the Hellbrute and just like gags. Like, oh, what the fuck is this?
Just ew.
Brother, ugh. What is that?
Brother,
I mean, I actually do have like the actual full on poster if you would like that little taste.
You've got the full on poster?
Yeah, I make posters for my films like years before I even make them. I'm not even kidding. I just gotta scroll down and find it real quick. Nah, there it is.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been making those for about as long as I've been making my films.
Wow. Wow, that's
Yeah, like the longer you look, the more details you notice.
I'm gonna ask ahead of time. Am I able to put this in the episode for like a second or two?
Honestly, I don't even care.
All right.
Friggin' my audience is probably gonna scratch their heads like, wait, when did you announce this? I'm like, didn't you watch my interview with didn't you watch my interview with Fresman? They're like, no. And I'm like, I dropped the poster.
And they're like, fucking who?
That's how I announce one of my projects. I just don't even post anything about it on my channel.
Sorry, just
Like,
post it to other people's channels.
yeah, they have no idea until I drop the teaser trailer in like 4 years.
Oh. Where would Devastator fit in, do you think?
He'd probably try to challenge an Imperator class Titan and lose miserably.
Just shot straight through with no chance.
Well, no, he'd probably just get squashed.
Stepped
Like-
on.
Like the more I learn about Imperator class Titans, the more I'm like, holy shit. Like, I don't know if they dwarf Metroplex, but they definitely come close. And Metroplex was fucking huge.
I just
There was another scene concept I had in mind that in the battle where Optimus is fighting a chaos corrupted Megatron, that like Optimus would get like temporarily blessed by the spirit of the God Emperor.
like like he gets he not only has the Allspark, but he has like the blessing to pass through the warp untouched.
Well, I actually think Optimus Prime probably could pass the warp untouched purely because of the Matrix of Leadership.
You know what? Yeah.
But like not only with the Matrix of Leadership, but the God Emperor just like empowers Optimus with like a portion of his godly strength or something to fucking throw hands with a chaos possessed Megatron.
Can, can you imagine like so with how much like the Imperium of Man and Space Marine Primarchs all talk up like the Emperor, and then Optimus having no frame of reference for the Emperor being in his current state.
Yeah, Optimus is like, I'd love to meet this God Emperor and negotiate. Both our worlds are in danger, and then just sees a skeleton hooked to life support.
Just uh
Optimus would genuinely feel just so terrible for the guy. I'm not even kidding.
well, like probably feel bad for him right up until like, oh, by the way, we sacrifice like a good 10,000 souls a day to keep him alive.
Oh yeah, the thing is, I think the Autobots would like by default side with the Imperium, but they would have so many disagreements.
Yeah.
Like on principle, like every Autobot would be a horde, even though like, well, they're humans. We got to keep them safe. That's kind of the vow we made.
Yeah.
And like there are just points where like maybe Hound or something is like, can I please just squish a few of them, please?
One or two. This one's actively trying to steal scrap off of my leg.
That one over there is actively like putting that poor guy in surgical horrors beyond comprehension. Can I please interfere?
That commissar is straight up shooting his own men.
That guy is being forcefully put into a mechamoid nightmare beyond comprehension instead of being allowed to just mercifully die. Please, can we just kill a few?
That's an interesting coffin they're putting that guy in, and they're hooking it
Oh,
up to a larger machine.
and they're strapping guns to it. Oh, he's still alive.
Oh.
Like, you know that image of Bay versus Optimus Prime with like human eyes and the image is all dark? Optimus is just making that face.
Yeah.
Just
Becoming uncanny.
yeah.
I, uh,
And do not get me wrong, I'm not some Transformers geek that's saying Transformers Solo's Warhammer. I totally think there's certain points of the Warhammer universe that would, at the very best, be like the harshest thing some Transformers have experienced.
so I had a thought, an image in my head, and it made me very happy, and I'd like to share it with you.
Very well.
Say, like, let's take like a main Transformer, like a very popular one. Let's take like Bumblebee,
Bumblebee.
but like the Michael Bay verse of it, like where he's very agile, he's doing flips.
That and throwing hands with enemies twice his size, yeah.
Yes. Imagine he gets severely injured in battle, and the only way to save him is to turn him into a dreadnought.
Ah.
You put the torso of a space marine in the chest of Bumblebee.
Well, no, just imagine like any Cybertronian possessed by a fucking space. Okay, the thing is, something similar to that actually happened in Transformers Prime.
Oh yeah.
There was this bad dude named Silas. He was a thorn in everybody's ass for like a season and a half, but he got put like fatally on the verge of death. And at the same time, his military organization had possession of a dead Decepticon named Breakdown. So they said fuck it and put him in the Decepticon and gave him control over the Decepticon's corpse.
Oh no, the image I had, like, you ever play Twisted Metal?
I did when I was really little.
Are you familiar with Axel?
No, not really.
So hold on, I want to. So the image I have in my head is like a literal torso, like in the giant chest of Bumblebee, like exposed to the world, but it's not he's controlling Bumblebee, it's they're working in symbiosis.
That would be kind of cool, actually.
Because I imagine, like, you know how most of the dreadnoughts are like slow and kind of lumbering,
Yeah, Bumblebee is the opposite of that.
and it just goes sailing.
Well, no, imagine that, and Bumblebee, like him and like the Space Marine, both just lock eyes on the nearest Hellbrute and go, "I want to fight that one."
You.
And the Hellbrute like is like 4 times their size.
There we go. That's actual. Like that's what I
That's what I
imagine.
love. Yes, yes, that's what I love about Bumblebee, though, is like he never chooses enemies his own size. He locks eyes with the biggest motherfucker he can find.
Point me at them.
Would probably throw hands with Megatron if given the chance.
Watch, that's what weakens Megatron to get possessed.
Yeah, he just gets so pissed at this little yellow fucker.
He's too fast to combo.
Well, and what I also love about Bumblebee is that we know that if he had his voice still, he'd be trash talking the whole time.
Or just every hit he throws, you just hear like, bitch.
Yes, unironically, that is Bumblebee's personality because, like, he uses his radio to talk, but all that does is allow him to just trash talk more creatively. Like, I am convinced that if Bumblebee had access to Google Text to Speech, he would use it to say even more vile shit because he can't find it in a broadcast. Like, my favorite line in all of Bumblebee is in Transformers 4 when Drift compares him to a child, and Bumblebee just stands up and goes, "This child is about to kick your ass."
I, like,
Matter of fact, I loved that line so much that I used it for a Bumblebee clip in Age of Heroes Season 2.
there you go.
Like he showed up to help fight some Decepticons. One of them said, "The Autobot child's here to save the day," and Bumblebee drops the line, "This child is about to kick your ass." And he freaking 1v2s him.
Nice. Oh, my face hurts from laughing. But
All right, what else you got?
well, you know what? With that, we pushed past it. We're at 52 minutes. But
Ah, darn it.
I know. But as we wrap this up, I do have one last question for you before we get out of Dodge.
All right.
If asked, would you be open to coming back as a return guest?
Absolutely.
No.
What?
No, just like, would you be open to coming back? No, why would I? After all that.
Yeah, no, I might be totally willing to come back.
Fantastic. But, Trooper, thank you so much for coming on. Like, this has been fantastic. I'm
I
very
agree.
I'm very excited to see where your storylines go. And like if like, party people at home, please go check out Trooper's channel, M91 Trooper Films. Like stellar. And
A, a fair warning is my voice still sounds like a child in the first few films, but that's because puberty hadn't hit yet.
yeah,
Fair warning on that.
they happen to all of us, man. But I do have a couple things to close this out. Do you have a video on your channel that you are particularly proud of that you'd like to see the description of this video?
Well, my most recent was Superman Bulletproof, which hasn't gotten that much traction quite yet.
Okay.
But it's not like my most proud work. My most proud work probably was Sonic Petals on Roses. Probably because it was so far out from what my conventional work is.
Getcha.
Like my typical work is like a superhero action flick, and Sonic Petals on Roses was a slow-paced story about overcoming grief.
Gotcha. You know what? I think I'm gonna put both in the description.
Ah, cool.
There you go.
And they're both recent, so the quality's at least decent.
There you go. But with that, there will be links to Trooper's channel in the description. Please, like, begging you, party people, go check it out. And Trooper, thank you again for coming on. This has been an absolute blast.
It was my pleasure.
But with that, party people, this has been Demasked. My name is Fresman. I'll see all of you next time.